Hi, precious hearts. I'm E.T. from LifeJoy TV and will be your speaker today. Have you ever thought about death? Can you understand that there is no unjust death from the viewpoint of the heaven? This time I'll share with you about Udeka's writing of there is no unjust death as a spirit soul. Without the consent of your higher self and your original spirit, anything unfair to you, such as being killed or injured due to an unexpected accident, death by illness, or suicide, could not happen. All the streams of human consciousness and emotions are monitored by the higher self, the original spirit, and angels in the heaven. The heaven knows all the streams of human consciousness and emotions. Once the final decision is made by the heaven, important events such as human death is informed to the original spirit 2 to 3 weeks earlier before the death of each avatar. When the final decision of human death is made, the azerial angels of the heaven who execute the procedure of death enter the human body with a program related to death. When the death of a human being is executed according to the program of the heaven by the angels who are in charge of human death, the human being faces death at the eye level of human consciousness as if it happens by chance. There is no accidental death. At the eye level of human consciousness, it may look like an accidental death or an unfair death, but there is no unjust death from the viewpoint of the heaven. At the level of human consciousness, death is heartbreaking, and you may feel a grudge on the heaven. But from the position of the heaven, what was scheduled to happen to him just happened to him as promised in the heaven. The eye level of human consciousness and the way of heaven that manages the grand universe are so different. It is the inevitably beautiful interval between the heaven and the earth. The difference between the heaven and the earth refers to the gap between the heaven's consciousness and human consciousness. The difference between the heaven and the earth is the difference between the way the heaven works and the way humans live. In other words, the heaven can embrace human beings, but humans cannot understand the heaven. There is a spirit soul between the heaven and the earth. There is a life between the heaven and the earth. There is a material experience of the spirit soul, such as birth, aging, sickness, and death between the heaven and the earth. There is a heavenly path that the heaven has set by itself and a human way that humans have created between the heaven and the earth. Do you know how much effort and energy the heaven uses in creating life? Do you know how much sincerity and energy the heaven spends on the life of a human being in this world? There is no unjust death from the viewpoint of the heaven. From the perspective of the heaven, there is no life that is not precious, just as there is no spirit soul that is not precious. When a life faces death, its death has been approved as there is a reason for each spirit soul. When a life is about to die, it is executed because it has been planned to happen by the law of karma and the law of the causal relation in the universe. In all the processes of human life, which is birth, aging, sickness, and death, the invisible hand of the heaven is involved. The programs of health and sickness are to be modified by the cycle of 7 years. For the human consciousness and emotions, the modification cycle is 5 years. There is no accidental death as planned in the heaven. What should happen is to occur to you. It just seems to be an unfair death from the level of human consciousness. By the will of the heaven, those who should live will continue to live, whereas those who are supposed to die will not survive. There will be countless spirit souls who will leave us in a great disaster. Behind the deaths of children and women who have had to live miserable lives in many conflict areas, there is the heavenly plan that the heaven cannot help but execute such death. The earth shall become the Jami One, which is the paradise in the universe. The earth will go through the dimensional ascension. There will be so many separations through disasters and the pandemic outbreak of unknown viral diseases. Those who are to survive will experience the sadness and despair of the survivors severely. Survivors will envy the dead. The suffering and sorrow of survivors will flow like the river. The fears and horrors of survivors will restore the lost heaven to their hearts. It's up to the heaven to live and die. There is unjust death from the standpoint of the spirit soul. The age of grief and suffering has begun for those who will survive. That's why the heaven exists. August 22nd, 2019, Udeka writes, translated by E.T. I hope you get more freedom from death. Thank you.